Well, good afternoon, friends. It's always fun stepping into the RV for the first time in the spring and kind of trying to get a sense for what has transpired over the winter. And we're going to go over a few things here, and the main point of this video is to address a water pump issue that we had last summer, and I want to show you guys what happened, how we're going to make sure that going into the spring that we don't have issues with that. But even if you're not having water pump issues, this is a good video for you because we're basically just going to share some things that we've learned and some things that we're learning and some new things that we've got going on. So looking around here, this place is a mess, and we're actually leaving tomorrow, which is just crazy. Crazy to think about, especially given the snow and other circumstances, which... But anyhow, some things that we got for Christmas that we're trying out here, or we're going to be trying out. So these are a propane gauge, and these are kind of important, especially on a weekend like this. We're all winter long, we haven't been in the rig using things, so I don't remember even how much propane we have. So these are a good, easy way to find out how much propane we have. So we're going to hook these up and see where we're at with that. After we do this and see where we're at with propane, then we're going to get into this water pump snafu that we got going on. That's not going to be fun. Friends, generally speaking, these covers are not real hard to deal with, but ours, because of the batteries and the way things are placed here, is. So just hold on a second. So you probably don't have that much trouble getting your cover off, but the clearance with the batteries and stuff, when you go starting to modify things, they never work as they're intended to anymore. So you want to make sure your tanks are off clockwise, righty-tighty to turn them off. And like I said, I don't remember how much is in these, so we're going to find out right now here. These are a real simple install. This end goes on the tank, and then this end your RV will plug into just like normal, and then as soon as you turn the propane on, it'll read how much you've got. Alright, so as you can see, both tanks are nearly full, so we should be good to go to get through the weekend. It is going to be cold, so we're going to be running the furnace. We'll be boondocking. We don't have an electric site, so we'll be totally relying on the furnace. Now, the big question is going to be, will this cover fit back on? Because as you can see here, this extends this quite a bit, so we'll see. Hopefully it fits back on there. It was hard to get off in the first place. You know, I'm tempted to run without the cover. I think it's mostly just an aesthetic thing anyhow, but of course the cover will keep these gauges clean. So, I don't know. If I can get it on, we'll put it back on. If I can't, then we won't. Alright friends, well, we got it back on there. I can't tell you the last time I've had more fun, but let's get this water pump, and we'll diagnose that problem next. Friends, as far as water pumps go, the first thing you want to be really aware of when it comes to RVing is, where is your water pump located in your rig? Now, our camper here is fairly small. For those of you who don't know, we have 26-foot Wildwood X-Lite. So there's not a lot of places in here for it to be, but you want to follow the sound. Generally, when you turn your water pump on at your switch panel here, you're going to hear a noise. And friends, you want to be aware of the noise that it makes when it's working correctly and doing what it's supposed to do. That way you'll know if your water pump starts to sound different than normal, then you may have this problem. And of course, that's what happened. We got the Shawnee State Park in... what's taken us so long is our water pump wasn't working. We filled up our tanks, we tried to use the water, and it wouldn't turn on. Well, it was making like a muffled sound. Normally when you use the pump, it's real noisy. Well, turns out there's a diaphragm inside that pump. But I want to tell you this because this is something that I've never known before, is that there's a diaphragm in there and it could stick. So you could rip the whole pump apart. Just know you don't have to spend $200 for a new pump. And I know a pump is $200 because I called the place we got the rig from and was trying to see if they had one in stock. I was going to go over and get it. Well, while we were ripping stuff apart, Rachel's mom got on the internet, YouTube, and found out about that diaphragm thing. Because all you got to do is take it apart, poke it with your finger, and she'll work. Apparently this is a pretty regular occurrence. If you've used city water for a few camping trips and then you go back and you try to use your tanks and your water pump, that thing gets stuck shut. And I'm going to tear the pump apart here real quick and show you how to fix that. And so friends, as it relates to the winterization process, on ours here, I installed this two-way valve, and so the suction line normally comes through here from the tank. There's a second one over here, and there's a little tube, and you can turn this valve here, and it'll suck the antifreeze through the tube. And so you just insert that tube into your jug, and you can throw some antifreeze through it. Personally, I don't like to fill everything up with antifreeze because, number one, I think it's wasteful, and number two, I don't like that stuff to be in the pipes any more than I have to. I know it's non-toxic, but just prefer it not be in there. It's difficult to flush out, it's difficult to get the taste out, and of course, if you're going to be drinking your water, you do want to sanitize your tanks. We have done that in the past, and I have a video on that. We'll link that above. This year, however, going on our first trip, we're not going to sanitize the tanks, and we're just not going to drink the water from them until we get into like the bulk of the camping season. Then we're going to sanitize and go from there. But for now, the trips are going to be a little sporadic just due to scheduling. So when we winterized last fall, I did blow everything out with air, and then the pump I actually physically took out of the RV, and I took it into my shop, which is heated, so I knew it would not freeze. And I did that specifically because I wanted to make this video, and also because I wanted to check this out again, because the last time I did it I was in a hurry. I'd briefly considered putting some like edible silicone, like food grade sprays that you could spray on stuff like this. I never did get any, so we're not going to do that. But if anyone's ever had this experience or done that, I would love to know down in the comments. These pumps, I'm sure there's a wide variety of it, and you know, I have never seen this problem on any of the other channels that I watch. And so that's kind of why I'm bringing this stuff to your attention, friends, is because if you know about these kinds of things ahead of time, then like when it happens, you know exactly what to do. And so that's why I make these videos. But our pump, hopefully you can see there, that's the model, SureFlow. They're not difficult to get out of the RV. You got one wire, it's a black one, and it connects to a white wire in there. What was weird was there was no quick connect on this one, but on the other one there's a second wire, and it connects just there where the red one is. There's another red one that goes into that same spot, and it has a quick connect. And so what we're doing here is there's a bunch of screws here, 3 across the top here. We're going to take those off. There's 6, 7, 8 of them. They go the whole way around, and so we're going to take that apart. And these are just a Phillips screwdriver, so I mean, as far as like tools, when you're out camping and maybe you have this problem, it's a simple fix, Phillips screwdriver. And you know, I always try to keep tools with me on the road because you never know when stuff may happen. And so like if you know where your water pump is located, you want to make sure you have all the tools with you to access it while you're camping. And I do carry a cordless drill, which I use for the stabilizer jacks. And I make sure that I have a kit with all kinds of bits for that. Usually in RVs you got the square heads, so you'll want a square bit, which you know is not common in all of your bit kits, but as RVers it's absolutely something that you want to have with you. You want to have tools. That's the bottom line. And ooh, water. There's water coming out here. And then as someone else on YouTube always says, carry the tools with you, and even if you don't know how to fix it, someone else that's with you might know how to fix it. So if you have the tools right there ready to go, it makes it easy, because that person who might know how to fix it, they may not have the tools with them. So it's always worthwhile to keep that kind of stuff with you. RVers are generally a friendly bunch, and we'll help each other out in these kinds of situations. When we were at Shawnee, the person in the site next to me was actually willing to help. So, I mean, And you can see, friends, there's all this water dripping out of this thing right now. And this is, of course, after I blew out the lines in the fall. That's why you need to run antifreeze through your pump, friends, because you got all this water, and if this stuff freezes in this pump, it's going to be a bad day. Okay, so if you've got this apart for any reason, you want to inspect everything on this side here and basically just make sure that there's no cracks or problems with the rubber. And then there's a gasket here which is reusable. And so the part, friends, that's stuck on us is this little valve right here. It should move very freely, which ours currently does right now. This essentially is a backflow preventer. So like when you're running off of city water at a campsite, there's pressure inside your lines and it's coming from this end, and it forces this thing back out against here, and that's what seals it up so the water can't go backwards into your fresh tank. Well, this pump has to be able to push this out to put the water in your lines when you're using your fresh tank. If this little valve gets stuck, your pump will be pumping, but the water ain't gonna go because it can't get through here. So I wanted to make sure we checked that because we were using fresh water a good bit. Of course, it did work the last time we boondocked. But yeah, everything else with this pump looks great. So I really have no issues with that there. We're going to go ahead and put this thing back together. This filter screen is probably something else that you want to check in the spring. Ours is really clean and clear. We do use a water filter. It's one of the blue inline ones. Alright, so that's our water pump story and our water pump situation. Going into spring, you want to make sure that you remember to change your bypass valves back on your hot water heater. Ours are located back here under the bunks, right behind the hot water heater, which is quite convenient. And friends, one last quick reminder as we go into the spring and we go into the season, get up on your roof, check out your roof. We've had this rig since 2020, and we have now had our first roof-related problem, and I just discovered it by climbing up on the roof. And so I always keep this on hand. This is Dicor RV lap sealant, self-leveling sealant for the roof. I always keep this on hand because even though we've never had a problem, now we have a problem. It's just up in the corner up there. It's starting to peel up. I can probably show you. And then another thing you do want to keep on hand, this is just some RTV, it's clear silicone, and this is for all the rest of the seals around the exterior of the RV. I haven't checked them yet this spring, but I have had problems with that in the past around the water heater in the back. Again, just all this stuff. We did a whole video on it last year, so I don't want to get too crazy into the spring prep, but just some quick reminders of things that are going on. And like I said, I like to keep you guys informed as things happen, and the roof happened. One last water related issue that you might face that I want to tell you before we close out this video. If your pump is making noise and your water's not coming through your faucet, one thing that you might want to check is if it's one specific faucet in your camper but the rest of them work, it could very well be your aerator. Now, we actually did have a clog in this sink. More recently. This was after the water pump issue. It was actually somehow, it was a piece of plastic. This one right here somehow got stuck in the line. Now yours is probably going to be different because every camper has a different faucet, but this one just screws off, and now you might have to put like a rag or something on the faucet and use something to get a good grip on this to get it off, because ours was stuck on extremely tight. But yeah, check these out. They get clogged. Check these out in your house as well. We've had problems in there, not with plastic getting in the lines, but some other stuff, because we seem to have a hard water issue. If your aerator is clogged because of like hard water and stuff, you're going to want to soak it in vinegar or some sort of acidic cleaning solution, and that should pretty much dissolve any issues that you've got as it relates to that. And then friends, next week's episode is the one you've all been waiting for. It's the official reveal of the generator, what we got, why we got it, and all that good stuff. And then finally after that, we are going boondocking in the Buchanan State Forest, which is in the south central regions of Pennsylvania. And we're extremely excited about that trip, extremely excited to share it with you. And so we'll see you next week for some generator stuff, and we'll see you there. Thanks again for watching, friends.